Greetings, everyone. Welcome back. Oh my gosh, me and my bow tie have been fighting for a while. Y'all got to forgive my bow tie today. Greetings. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Family, a show that is dedicated to providing information to strengthen families. The topics range from whatever finances, health, fitness, it really doesn't matter as long as it's about family because we're here to help you build a stronger family. You have a stronger family, we have stronger communities. We have stronger communities, stronger states, stronger nation. And that's what the goal is. Today, I have the pleasure of having a couple that I had fell in love with the first time we met, and I have been waiting for this show. My assistant has been hearing all about it, and I've put it out to everybody that they're going to be on here. So I am so excited to have them. Go ahead and share, like, comment throughout the show because we are here to encourage and strengthen the family. So at this time, I would like to welcome the Hylicks.
Thank you
How are
so
you?
much
How
for
are you?
having this.
Oh
Oh,
my
we're doing fine. How are you?
I am doing better. Thank you for being here. Thank you for accepting to be a guest. And thank you in advance for sharing your expertise and your knowledge because I know it's about to get real good.
Well,
So,
we love to share.
all right, before we go any further, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
No, you good. I'm the quiet one, remember?
Okay, well, for all you know, I'm Eric Hylick, and that's my wife, Dr. Sakisha Hylick, and we've been together over 27 years. We've been married now 23 years, and we've just been passionate about working with couples. We've been working with them for over 16 years, and we're also in the business together, and we have done so much research, and we're just passionate about helping couples to win and also helping families to have a strong foundation so that they can produce strong couples and strong relationships and strong marriages. My wife is a retired pharmacist. She has a doctorate degree in pharmacy, and I'm also in corporate America as a senior solutions architect. But we have multiple businesses in real estate. We're also TV show producers. We just finished filming in Dallas, Texas, our first season of becoming the Millionaire Power Couple, and it's been exciting. And we were just having so much fun on the set, and we have a lot of behind the scenes episodes and clips out on social media everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you said it all. We're just passionate about seeing families thrive, especially when you look at where you've come from to see how God could just touch your life. And that, when you look at the statistics and what it looks like on the outside, to know that God, He covered you, He protected you, He blessed you so that we didn't follow in our family's footsteps. So that's another passion that we have. We came from families with a history of divorce, and um, we were committed to being the change we wanted to see. And it's just exciting to see how God can utilize you to be able to do just that.
See, I told y'all it's a powerhouse. I told y'all we are standing in the presence of royalty today. We are. Listen, it has been my pleasure I've been just praying and waiting on this show. The passion that we have for building stronger families and marriages are very identical. Um, I did my anniversary show. The last show I did was my anniversary show, and one of the questions was asked, "What was my favorite show?" And I tried to say no subject, no particular show, which all the shows I'm equally passionate about. But my host that I had that day, she pulled it out of me, and I had to admit that my favorite subject is about family and marriages. So
Yeah.
here we go, everyone that's watching another show on families and marriages. So let's dive in. So
Okay.
let's talk about the family structure,
Mhm.
and how the family is structured. It seems that over the years, the family structure has changed. You
Mm.
know, It's changed a lot. What have y'all seen in that? What do y'all think?
Well, statistically speaking, we've done some research in like the Pew studies and research, and we found that back in the '60s, when you talk about a family, a child is typically born to a two-parent household, and that was typically around about 70, 75%. And then, in the '80s, it dropped down to the 60%. And now we're looking at around about the mid or low 40%. So the
Wow.
family structure is not what we would see. Fathers knows best. You see a mother and a
Right.
father, and you see the daughter and the son. You don't typically see that now. It's dynamically and totally different now.
I think in the '80s the best example we had was the Cosby Show,
Yeah.
and
Yes,
Bill Cosby did a great job of showing us the family structure during the '80s. But I thought it was a turn in the '90s because the show that we had in the '90s was Martin. And if you look at the difference in the family structure between the two shows, because social media, well, media has a major impact on a lot of what we do. And if you look
Yes.
at the structure of the Cosby Show and to look at the structure of Martin, it was a big difference. And I think that was that. A lot of times when I talk about the family structure, I use those two examples
Mhm.
and how
I
they
think.
are. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no, no. I was saying that, that's true when you think about the dynamics and what's being depicted. So now when you think about back then, you watch the Cosby shows, and was it like after a certain period of time, like TV went off, a lot of the things that our kids are being exposed to now, or what's depicting the family structure, has changed drastically. It's
yeah,
like what you see now is definitely different from what you saw back then. So it warrants, or it opens the opportunity for discussion, because everybody's household doesn't look the same now. Is You have to have those more in-depth conversations.
right.
Before, it was more so, okay, the mommy and daddy, then mom and dad may have divorced or something like that, but now you've got to explain the dynamics of other alternatives that have come in,
Right.
and that impacts what our children now perceive as a family structure.
Right. Right. I found it interesting that, and I'm not talking about anybody that is divorced, has been
Yeah.
divorced, going through a divorce, but there's a common term that I'm starting to hear, and I may not say it right, but it's the other your other house, your other
Mhm.
family, and we don't have enough research yet, but I wonder how is that going to impact a lot of these children now as they get older, because a lot of the couples now, as after they separate, they have joint custody. And so you spend 1 week at the father and 1 week at the mother.
Mhm.
And we don't know the impact that it's going to have on marriages 20 years from now.
Well, I think it sends the message that you don't have to be married. You can, I grew up with
Wow.
one world here and one world there. So, it's like two different worlds. And you don't have that co-parenting together in one household, whether you're a male or a female, because you have to think about what you see in the household. If you see mom and dad together, you see a relationship, and then you see them whether they're together. And then when you have family dinner, you're together, and then there's conversation, and then you have an example of what a healthy, functional relationship or a healthy, functional marriage looks like. So now you're already thinking, this is what I'm looking forward to when I get my mom and dad's age. I'm going to have a family. I'm going to eat dinner together. I'm going to go on family vacations. I look to my father to show me what a man looks like, and then what a husband looks like, and then of course how he teaches me about life, and allows me to progress in what I call the hood, from my boyhood to a manhood. And then, if it's a daughter, it's what?
From girlhood to womanhood.
And to ultimately, wifehood and then motherhood. But a lot of times, when you have that breakup in that family, you don't see a family structure. So, that's not something that I'm looking forward to. It comes up to, well, me, myself, and I, and, she, herself, and her,
Right.
and it's not a, oh, well, I'm looking forward to going to school, getting my education, graduating, getting married, and having a life together. It's now, oh, I'm just going to graduate, make money, and be a boss man, or if for the woman, it's a boss chick. And it's not, my goal is not to get married, and have a household structure that looks like where we eat breakfast together, we eat,
Right.
you go to church on Sunday, or whatever the case may be. It's not ingrained. It's not what they see
Right.
when you're young, and then you're not getting the example, but you're not also getting the teaching, you
Yeah.
know, what it looks like to progress in what I call the hood.
Man, I never thought about it from that aspect, but that is something that they're being seen that you can, and I think that's one of the common themes that we've been seeing a lot lately. And single parenthood, listen, I got mad love for you. I have no issues with you. I grew up in a single parent home, but if we are honest with ourselves, single parenting is hard. It is extremely difficult. One of the things that I always say, it takes a village to raise a family. And if we are not teaching our children about this village, if we're not showing them this village, then they're going to grow up not knowing about the village and not knowing how to build their own village and feel like they got to do it by themselves. And now, with not having the example in the home, that's going to add more to it.
Well, Mr. Feaster, when you think about it, if within the family structure, if you don't have the respect of your mother and the respect
Right.
of your father, right? And then when you go outside of that family, you look at your neighborhood, if they don't have that same structure in place where you have other adults that have families. So when your children are out amongst and playing in the neighborhood or what have you,
Right.
they're not going to have respect to those adults that are in other families. So when you
Yes.
talk about the village, if they can't respect their own fathers because there's a lack of fathers, they don't know what it means to be a man. When they're out in the village, as you say, the community, they're not going to respect the men and the women in the village because they don't have that teaching or that understanding of what respect and of authority of their father and their mother. That's a lack. So if they have the lack of respect of authority in their own family, in their own household structure, when you talk about a village, they're not going to have that respect out there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's why it starts in the family structure. So if every family had that same sense of authority teaching and respect in the household, then that same respect is protruded out into or reciprocates in the village or the community. So if the
Yes.
kids are taught that respect and to respect authority in adults, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, or at least, yes, Mr. Feaster, and respect you. Hey, he's an adult, he's a man. I respect you, yes, Mr. Feaster. So they may be playing ball and they hit the ball and crack your window. Oh, Mr. Feaster, I'm sorry. Rather than cursing out Mr. Feaster
Right.
and telling me, blankety blank blank blank, they lack of respect. Because if they respect their own father, then they wouldn't talk out of that with curse words and stuff to their own father. Then again, Mr. Feaster, my neighbor, I'm going to treat him with respect. And
Yeah.
I'm going to come to him with apology and yes, sir, what can I do to repair your window, sir? You know?
Right.
So that's where it's the most important aspect in the family structure. Because if you have that respect and that authority taught, then there won't be such crime. There won't be so much disrespect in the
Right. Right.
community. And then when you talk about relationship, when they teach that they must respect, the boy needs to respect himself and he's going to respect his mom. He wouldn't mistreat his mom or his sister. And of course, when he gets up and he's able to respect himself and be able to become and stand on the own man, he's going to respect the girl or the woman that he wants to eventually become his wife, as he's going to
Yes.
respect her as he respects his mom, he respects his
Yes.
sister. But it
Yeah.
has to be shown, it has to be taught. He needs to know the level of authority in the household. So when
Yes.
he becomes a man, he now knows how to treat the woman that he wants to become a wife and him become a husband, and then ultimately he becomes a father and she becomes a mother, and then they
Yes.
teach the same authority, respect in their children, and that way the future generations, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And the village, the community, is now producing a generation of people who have a moral, a standard, they understand authority, they understand respect, and then therefore they won't be disrespecting or talking out of authority. They respect authority. And so then they carry themselves as such. And so therefore relationships are going to be have a stronger foundation and be more functional. And then marriages, when they get together, they have something. So they
Yeah.
can have a functional marriage, a functional um, relation, a functional family, and the generation continues. So versus having a dysfunctional family, and then the whole mindset is dysfunctional. If that makes sense to you, sir.
Yeah, Sebastian Person said it's a perpetual cycle. This is
Yeah.
true. It's you said a mouthful. Like I'm 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 trying to stay seated and trying to stay in my seat, but we like one of the things that you said is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize. We learn so much at home. We learn so much at home that carries us through the rest of our life. Like you're saying, we learn to respect authority, we learn how to share, we learn how to communicate. All this stuff we learn at home. And if these things are not taught at home, then one of the things I used to tell people when I was in the military, what you don't teach your child, they come in the military, we got to teach them. We got to teach them how to wash. We got to teach them how to dress. We got to teach them how to talk. We got to teach them how to be respectful. All of this stuff that should have been taught at home, now I'm teaching a grown adult. So it's a lot of stuff in the home, and this is why the family structure is so important. So, what do you think about a marriage model or a marriage mentor or even some type of married mentorship program?
I mean, I definitely feel that there's a need for it. There are so many times now since that family structure, the family dynamic has changed. A lot of people are going based on what they see in their home. And a lot with the father not being there, you have more single moms, more moms entering the workforce. So they're focusing on trying to raise their child, but trying to keep a roof over their head, food on their table, clothes on their back. So their presence may not necessarily be as frequent because they're spending time working trying to provide for the family. So the child in turn considers that normal, for dad not to be there, or for mom to be working all the time, for them to be unsupervised or not having those conversations. And sometimes it's not necessarily that the parents don't want to. Sometimes they're exhausted from just trying to make ends meet. Like you said, being a single parent is hard. It's difficult. I witnessed my mom. She was a college professor, but in order to make ends meet, I didn't have any siblings, but she worked as a college professor. She wound up opening her own daycare, started doing real estate, so life insurance. She had 4 or 5 jobs. So that often left me at home. So statistically, I wouldn't know anything about having a relationship or what a marriage looked like,
Right.
but she was intentional about having some conversations with me. And fortunately, God connected me with a man who we decided together at the beginning of our relationship that we were going to be that change. But it didn't mean it came natural to us. We
Right.
had to seek wise counsel to find out what that looked like. Because the only thing we had to go by is what we saw. My mom was divorced twice. My grandfather at 94 was on his fourth marriage.
Mm,
Eric's parents married and divorced 3 times. So if we went solely by what we saw, statistically, that wasn't going to work.
Exactly.
right.
You
Right.
know, if I may, if you think about, mentors and someone to look up as an example, it really starts at the young age. The child, they form their dreams, they
Right.
form their aspirations, they form their models, they form what they want to be like when they grow up at young ages. And if they don't have some kind of family structure example of a father and a mother, typically, young boys, they say my model is my father,
Mm-hmm.
and their mother, and daughters, they want to be like their moms, and they want to meet their husband to be like their father, because they look for them, you know. But when they don't, when that young child is in his age, he's a boy and he's playing with his toys, and he, typically, when they're young, they're exposed to police and firemen, doctors maybe, and they say, oh, I want to be a fireman, because they look up to those as heroes and
Right.
someone that they want to be like. Oh, that's what I want to do when I grow up. Or maybe a teacher, because that's something that they see. But if they don't see that in there, if they don't see what a man looks like, as their father being their heroes, and they want to be like my father, if he's not there, then that son does have a man role to say, I want to be like. And that daughter going to say, well, I want a husband to be like my father, because
Right.
he's not there. She has a lack of an example or a mentor to show her what a husband and a father looks like, because she
Right.
can't see her father treat her mother with respect, see the interaction between the two, how they eat together, and how the father role, as he is the head of the family, that the mom is, and the kids, they feel protected because of the father. The leadership and the vision of the father show they see that, and now they have a role model, they have a vision.
Yes.
So the daughter is looking like, wow, I want my husband, I want to meet a man like my father. And the father's name, well, I want to meet a woman like my mother, because they see how
Yes.
the mother respects the father, how the mother takes care of the home, operate the home, and implement. She carries many hats,
Yeah.
and then they're both in corporate America, they're both in business or entrepreneurship. They say, wow, my parents are in business together. They're operating. They see how they conduct business, and then they see how they conduct their marriage and their family. Now they have a blueprint. They have a mentor. They have a structure to say, well, that's where I want to be when I get their age. I want to meet a mom. I want to meet a woman that's like my mom. I want to meet, the daughter. I want to meet a man who's like, because now they're expecting that man to be a visionary, a
Right.
protector, a man that commands respect in the family and outside of the family, the man that takes care of his wife, that loves his wife and his daughter. So if you don't have that, then the world is giving your visions, your dreams,
Right.
and your aspirations. And if the world doesn't look like the foundation of the family, or strong foundation, then that's where you're getting your hatred, you're getting your biases, you're getting no structure. So you're just out there about whatever makes me feel good. As a boy, as a girl, we just want whatever we can have. And then if we have no authority and no structure, and we're not taught that at a young age, we figure we can do whatever we want to, get away with it. All I need is, you get that mentality with me. All I want is as my toys. I want all these different toys. I want more toys. And then look at girls as the same thing. I want as many girls as I can get, you know. And then the daughter's like, well, shucks, as long as I can get paid and I can live a life like what you see on videos or whatever. You just see a woman dressed with the red bottoms and this. You don't see a family. You don't see a father and a mother. You can have a father and a mother that dress with the red bottoms, like you said, the Cosbys, right? Well, he's a medical doctor. He has his practice. The mother, she's a
Well,
partner in her law. She could wear her red bottoms, but
right.
but they have a structure. There's, there is authority figure. There's mentor. There's love. You see the
Yeah.
father loving his wife and his kids. So all that is formed at that childhood stage. Well, because Theo now said, "Oh, my father's a doctor. My mother's a
Yeah.
lawyer." They have something to aspire for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's interesting because as you look at something that Bill Cosby broke the mold on, I cannot think of another show. Maybe Good Times did it, but I cannot think of, and I think Roseanne did it a little bit. but Bill Cosby did a great job of displaying often the love that he had for his wife in that show.
Yeah,
You know, Cliff and Claire, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that they loved each other. None whatsoever. And I cannot think of too many shows that did that consistently. Like I said, Roseanne, there was a couple of times in that show, the older show, not the new one,
hmm
where they showed it, and Good Times, there was a couple times when they showed it. But for the most part, you don't have that type of love being displayed during a sitcom.
Yeah.
that's true. And when you look at the Cosbys, though, you see multiple generations because then you have Cliff,
Yeah.
his father and his mother, and on both
Yes.
sides
Yes.
you
Yeah.
see the generations. And now, as a child, you see what that looks like. And that's a strong family structure that goes from generation to generation. So
Yeah.
there's three different generations on display. So now a child sees that, and man, I love to have. They see the love in that family in all different generations. And they see how they loved and they supported each other, even when things look bad or the kids get into. It shows. Um, exactly multi-generational. You see the challenges of raising children. They had one son and what was two, three daughters.
Four
Yeah,
daughters.
three daughters,
Four.
four. So you see the challenges and the different generations within there, and then you see
Yeah.
the grandparents, and they showed about education. Hillman College, and they were
Right.
proud. You saw the heritage, and so all that was taught and all that was seen, and so you see now when I look at that, you know, Theo and them respected their grandfather, their grandmother. That respect they saw a marriage in their grandparents, and it
Right.
reflected in their mother and father. You see, and then it shows how they grew up from little kids and how they grew up, and then they went their their separate ways, but they had a foundation of of how to live life and what to expect moving from boyhood to manhood and womanhood. you know. And now I call the modern day Cosby's blackish, um, and I look at that because in this dynamic, now that's a more of a comedic dynamic,
Yeah.
but you do see a mother and a
Yeah.
father. They both
Yeah.
in their professions. She's a
Right.
medical doctor. Now that's the modern day, so it kind of
Yeah.
switched. So she's a medical doctor, a surgeon, anesthesiologist. He is a senior vice president in a
Yeah.
marketing firm. And their kids, they have a different dynamic. They're growing up in a more like a high end, high class, or lower high end class
Right.
community where
Right.
they're so used to being around Caucasians.
Yeah.
Um, and so they're picking up how they're what they're exposed to, but they still are grounded in the sense that hey, their father is a black man, and so now they expect it that the black man is a senior VP. He drives a Benz. It's normal for them.
Yeah.
That's their normal. They have a mother and a father. They have grandparents. And actually, the grandparents end up living in the household. But that shows that, hey, that you take care of your grandparents. You take care of the family. The
Yeah.
family structure is strong. They went through many of seasons, many of testings, but they pushed through, you see.
Yeah.
So that's another dynamic, and that's why it's called blackish. Because when you think
Yeah.
of black people, you don't think, in the Cosby's, you didn't necessarily. Now they were professionals, but they had, when you see their friends, they look
Yeah.
like them. But when
Yes.
in blackish, their friends are Caucasian, Spanish.
Yeah.
They were in a mixture. You know what I mean? So
Multicultural. Yeah.
Yeah.
multicultural. So that's a whole
Right.
nother dynamic. What's
Yeah.
your thoughts on that, babe?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's perfect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I watched that show, but I'm telling you, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm like, I never, I never looked at it as the modern day Cosby Show. Like it is a depiction of a family because you don't have many out there, and I guess I just wasn't looking for them. But you don't have many out there. But it is a depiction of the modern day family with the father and the mother. And I know a lot of people gonna disagree because we're focusing on a father and a mother, a man and a woman in the house. But It is what it is. That's what we stand on. So that's what we're talking about today. Um, but I never thought about it. And those that are listening, like I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Is there any other shows out there that fit that? Because that was just a shock to me. I'm gonna be honest. But I like that show, and it does do a great job of displaying. They don't. I don't think they focus as much on displaying the struggles that the Cosby did in marriage. They focus more on raising the children, and maybe that's why I missed it. But they do have that dynamic. I'm babbling because I'm sorry. You took me somewhere.
But no, I mean, you think about it. It's when you look at the Cosbys, there were the challenges back when they were growing up, and that was
Right.
what 80s.
80s.
Now, because they went through with Blackish, they went through the killing of black men.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, because they're in the circle of of the community is
Right.
mixed. But when you look at what was the guy who got choked to death?
George Floyd.
George
No.
Floyd.
Yeah.
So
They addressed a lot of
they
that.
addressed that on the
Yeah,
show,
they did.
where they expect, right? They expect, because like when you look at a Rainbow, she expect, oh, it's going to turn out right. And she
Right.
was showing that to the kid. But then when it turned out totally wrong, everybody like, whoa, what? I
Yeah.
can't believe that. So it was a waking up. So now you're looking at it depicts the issues that even though today we think we wouldn't have to deal with these types of things in society, we are.
Yeah.
Even when you look at a black man who's a senior vice president in a marketing firm and a doctor, and then the kids are in private school, they're in a beautiful home, then they're not really thinking about it. But now they see the reality of what the world is really like. You see, just because you have a level of education, a level of economics, does not preclude you from being in the reality that, hey, you're a black man, you're or a mixed couple in society. You know what I mean? But still, it's the level of education that you teach your children, and they see have a foundation in there, and what they're growing up, what they expect. And they even show when Junior grows up, right? He gets his girlfriend. And so his expectations of her is like what he kind of sees with his father. And he says, well, and you can see the conversation between him and his girlfriend. I'm not going to be like my father. I'm not going to be like this. But he ends up being like his father because
Right.
that's what he saw, and that's what's ingrained in him. You know what I mean? It's like, because they wanted to go out and get their own place, right? And first he's like, I'm not going to go live in that kind of place where all these, infestations in that kind of hood. But he didn't want to say that because she was like, I just wanted our own place,
Right.
And so, his thinking was kind of what his father would say. Because, she said, wait a minute, you're saying exactly what your father said, right? Yeah, she said, you're acting just like your father. But see, the thing is, he had a father to emulate, to
Yeah.
think like. He had something to, you know what I mean? So, but if he didn't, where is he going to get his mentality, his vision, his perspective on life? You know what I mean? And so,
It's interesting because we spent the last 20 minutes using a show to demonstrate what we've been talking about, how the family structure is the model for how we interact and we act when we get out on our own. I remember when I first moved out on my own, and you never pay attention to all the minute stuff that you have to buy when you first get out on your own, the broom, the dustpan, the silverware. And I remember going through the store, and this was long before Walmart, and I don't even remember what store it was, probably Kmart, because that was the store back then.
yep.
I remember going through the store, and every time I went somewhere, I was thinking about what my mom purchased, and that's what I would buy. I wasn't looking at any labels. I wasn't looking at any names. I wasn't looking at any brands. I
Exactly.
was looking for the products that I had seen my whole life. And as I got older, a couple of the products that I remember growing up with, as I got older, I changed. But I still find myself diverting back to it. And that's just a small example of
Yes.
things that we don't even pay attention to, that we learn, and those things that influence us as we're growing up in the home. Man.
Exactly. And and I use for us for an example, my wife and I, right? So like for me, when I grew up, my mom, especially on the weekends, I'd always wake up and I could smell my mom in the kitchen cooking, breakfast. And I know it's going to be bacon, it's going to
Yep.
be eggs and grits, and it's going to be orange juice and Kool-Aid, right? And my mom would always say, Eric, go wake your daddy up, because that's the day he sleeps late. So I
Right.
was going to run in the room, daddy, mommy said it's time to eat breakfast. Okay, we're coming. And then my sister, she would be, doing whatever. And so we all come to the table to eat, right? So, and we eat as a family. And this is what I'm accustomed to. Now, when we get married, my wife, now that may not be the same dynamic with her, right?
Right.
Her dynamic looks different, because if her father's in New York and her mom's in Carolina, and her mom's always working, she making the money, but she's not accustomed to the mom cooking and they're eating together as a family, waking
Yeah.
up to the smells of the food.
Right.
Sometimes my wife says she doesn't like the way my mother-in-law cooks. She doesn't like that. And my mother-in-law loves to cook, and she's an awesome cook. But so her dynamic and her, now we get together, we're married. I'm expecting what I grew up in, waking up to the smells of breakfast, right? My wife be like, you better get you some cereal. So wait a minute, that's so what I grew up accustomed to and what I'm expecting. She's
Throw me
totally
under
having
the
a different expectation. Like, you better get you some cereal, or we're going
Yeah.
out to eat. We're going to Kiki's or IHOP or whatever.
Kiki's. Kiki's chicken
Yeah.
and waffle?
No.
Oh,
No, Kiki's is like a breakfast cafe
It's a breakfast
here.
cafe here. Like First
okay.
Watch is another
My
one
bad.
here.
That took me back somewhere. I went to that restaurant, Kiki's Chicken and Waffle. I ain't endorsing them.
Oh,
Let me stop.
okay. Hey, but
That ain't
see,
paying for that endorsement.
that shows that what you grew up and what you know as, wow, the restaurant, and what we grew up, and so totally different perspectives. We come together, our worlds clash. So
Yes.
my
Yes.
expectations or her expectations are going to be totally different, right? Because of our family structure, what we grew up as children, growing up, what we expect, and what we think is normal. What I
Right.
think is normal is a mother cooking for the breakfast and lunch and dinner. Hers is like, you get it when maybe Thanksgiving you get cooked for,
Yeah.
but so then, right, that's a different dynamic,
That's that's an interesting point you brought up, because we rarely talk about that first year of marriage. We rarely talk about I always say the marriage concept is probably one of the craziest concepts in the world that God designed for us, because you got two people that grew up totally different that's going to come together. So that first year is, a lot of times people bail out and not realizing you're building that foundation. Some people grew up where they put the top on the toothpaste. Some people grew up where they didn't, and they don't think that's a problem until they get married. And then all of a sudden it becomes a problem. Well, wait a minute. I mean, I'm gonna say it like this, and this is a bad shot on me. Our first big argument when we got married was about the bed being made. I was
Yeah.
accustomed to the bed being made, and my wife wasn't. And I threw a fit, a total fit about the bed not being made, and not realizing we hadn't come together in that area. That's that building and that solidifying of the foundation. Those small things that we don't think about. That first year of marriage is interesting. Like that
Mhm.
first year of marriage is interesting. It's interesting, and everybody experience it differently.
But it also still comes back to the structure of the family,
Right.
because you have to have a standard. And
Yes.
if you don't know what the standard is, you're kind of like just open season.
Right.
You go from, when you get married, if you get married, because now For what I'm hearing with this generation, I don't know what they call it, X, Y, Z, or whatever it is, X plus Y equals Z. This generation, they have been so disappointed in the lack of a family structure. And even the leaders, they look like, if they're in a religion, they look at the pastors and the ministers and the elders, and they see so much corruption and so much adultery in the church, and how they treat each other with disrespect and fighting amongst positions and all. They're like, well, I don't want to subscribe to that religion. I don't, I see the pastor cheating on her husband, on his wife, and why would I want to get married? Or my mother and father, they broke up, or I only got raised by my mother.
Right.
So why do I need to get married? Why do I need to believe in Jesus Christ or God? So they don't subscribe to that religion, that system, they call it, that paternal system, or that patriarchal system or beliefs. They're just open season. They're just like, what now they see, because Instagram is now what's teaching this generation.
Yes.
And our generation used to be the videos where we could watch the videos on MTV and on BET. But this generation is Instagram. And when you look on Instagram, you cannot go on Instagram without seeing women showing off their body parts, or they in bling, and then men doing the same thing. And we're starting to see some men and women together, and they're dressed, and they look like they're professionals, but the majority of it, you just see women looking bling bling in their bikinis and this and that. So women is thinking, I'm just bling bling, I just need a man to pay my bills. Or sometimes they get to, well, I make my own money, I don't need a man to pay my bills. I don't need to get married, I just need a man to satisfy me sexually, but I make my own. Or they're looking for a man that's a professional athlete.
Right.
And he's gonna take care of me. And the first thing they do is they think, you're gonna get with me, get before getting married, you're gonna have my baby. Now I'm for life. So they're not thinking, I'm looking for a man to be my husband, and we build life together. I am a professional woman with degrees and aspirations. He's a professional man with degrees and aspirations. We come together as a power couple.
Yes.
Right? Because now he makes his 100,000, she make her 100,000 or 80,000. You put it together, it's double. Now what we can acquire and what we can do as a couple is powerful. But instead of just looking, well, I don't need him, I just need his money. I don't want to get married, I just need his sperm. Or I don't need that, I go to another woman. All I need is to be satisfied, and I make my own money. I got my salons, I got multiple salons, I'm successful, I don't need a man. So now if she has babies, all they see is their mom she's successful in business-wise, but there's no man. Now if she has a boy, all he sees is what a woman does, right? So where is the family structure? How can you reproduce morals and standards in a family structure? And as you say, the village, how's the village and the community, when the moral structure going to spill over to that? That's why there's so much division in the world now. You look at the Caucasian family. So those boys and those girls are raised not with hatred, because all they see is their mom and daddy talking about Republican, Democrat, hatred, not caring for what the people who need is. It's that all they see is hatred, division. They don't know why, but the black people, we don't like them. The Mexican people, we don't like them. The Spanish people don't like them because mom and daddy said so. They don't know why. So that family structure is dysfunctional. It's because you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's why it spills over, because they're growing up with hatred. So that's why the most important aspect of America is the family structure.
Yes, it is.
America will pay more attention to the family structure. And as you said earlier, the family will be strong. The community will be strong. The cities, the states, the nation. Because now there's a structure. How can you stand on something if there is nothing to stand on? How can you have morals if your mother and father never taught you how to respect somebody else? You respect your elders, no matter what color they are. If you're walking and you open the door for that person. He's an adult. Yes, sir. No, sir. Respect. I stepped on your foot. I'm sorry, sir. I apologize. You know, and I mean, people nowadays, especially from other countries or even in this country, they come in and step over you and don't say nothing, just rude. There's no respect. If I hurt someone, oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. You know, now it's like, oh, you step on somebody's foot, they want to beat you up or something or shoot. Now it's all, they don't beat up, they just want to shoot and kill you. But if you had some kind of your father teaching you, look, you only resort to violence in defense, not because you step on somebody's foot or because they said something to make you angry. But if they were taught any kind of morals and standards, you won't disrespect someone else and call them out of their name. Even though you can disagree with somebody, you're still going to respect them. Yes, sir, I disagree with what you're saying. I think it should be this way. It shouldn't be because I disagree with you, I'm going to shoot and kill you because you look a certain way. It starts down with the family. Now, for my household, I can't speak for the rest of the world because we're so diverse with so many cultures, so many religions and beliefs, right? But I know for my house, we serve and follow the standards of the Word of God. The Word of God teaches you how to live your life as a man and as a woman, but most of all, and how you treat anybody. I'm going to love thy neighbor as I love myself, and I love my God with all my heart, my soul, and my body. So if I love you, Mr. Feaster, as I love myself, I'm not going to steal, kill, bear false witness against you. I'm not going to lie on you. I'm not going to try to take your wife. I'm not going to harm you or your family because I wouldn't want it done to me.
Right.
If we can live by just saying I'm going to treat everybody I come into contact, I know my wife wants to pop me, then I'm not going to treat them how I wouldn't want to be treated.
Right.
Same with my wife. I mess up with my wife. I just messed up this evening. I did something. So I apologize to my wife. I do some dumb stuff. I do some things out of that. How in the world did you do that? I just told you. I do. I mess up. But I got to learn to be respectful to my wife. I got to respect her and say, baby, I'm sorry. I messed up again. But I'm imperfect. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. But I love you and I do respect you, although it didn't look like it in that aspect. But I do. I respect it. Because see, here's the thing. That's why we have Millionaire Power Couple, right? Because you got to build a strong marriage first before you go into business together so you can build a successful marriage, right? And then, of course, build generational wealth. And so you got to have so and the same thing with us. We have a strong foundation in our marriage. And we're in business together too. So, and then of course, we want to build generational wealth. All three. So I have to, as a man, I may be the visionary, but I still have to respect my wife, right? And I have to respect her vision because it comes down to the giftings and talents. If she's strong in one area, then I am. So I respect the giftings in her, that's her strength, and I have to submit to her strength and lead in her giftings and talent. I may be weak in that area. Ain't no sense in me trying to operate in my weakness. When together we're a team, we can win if we operate in her strength. Versus me just in my weakness trying to do something, even though she's stronger, well, because I'm the man, and then we lose. So we can't think in individuality. We got to think as a team. My wife has a lot of strength, so I baby, I'm sorry, you the man, you the woman. But anyway, I got off the tangent. I apologize, Mr. Feaster.
Look, I was sitting back and enjoying it because the display that you displayed, I am so glad you did that. You apologize to your wife in front of everybody that's watching, and like Shay Brown says, media never sleeps, so we don't know who is going to watch this and who's going to see this. But that was a perfect example. Like, that was so beautiful. I am so glad that you messed up and you decided to apologize on my show. But it just goes to show that, I really believe that we do a great job of showing the world that we have these perfect, those of us that's been married for a long time, We do a great job of showing that we have these perfect marriages. We don't argue in front of people. We don't have disagreements in front of people. If we mad in the house. And so people that are coming up want to be like us, not realizing we still arguing about the toothpaste at 27 years later. We
Yes.
still arguing about the car not being clean at 30 years later. You know? So it's that I'm sorry. Now I'm on a tangent, but that was beautiful. That was beautiful. And with that, we've had a great show. Like, if I keep talking, we're gonna start all over again. And this has been great. Man, like I've been telling a lot of people, I've been waiting on this show. I've been waiting on this expertise. I've been waiting on this knowledge, and you definitely gave it. You definitely gave it. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being a guest. Thank you for coming and sharing with my viewers your knowledge and your expertise. And now, before we go, please tell the viewers how they can get in contact with you and get some one-on-one or group, personal, um, whatever. Y'all got a lot going on, so go ahead.
Well, the central point right now is www.marriagescanwin.com. Yes, marriagescanwin.com. Also, we do have our, what do you call it, the tree?
Link tree.
The link tree. The link tree. Now, that is the Millionaire Power Couple link tree, because we do have our TV show that's being filmed on our first season. And it's powerful. We have just, we've interviewed with a CEO of a corporation, a public traded corporation, some power couple. I mean, it's been awesome. And apostles that are walking in the true functionality of it, not just carrying titles. I mean, it's just awesome. And advertisement specialists. And when you see the different dynamics, it's really powerful. It's really awesome. Don't miss the shows. And we just had the Millionaire Power Couple Summit, where we had over 41 speakers, including, I have to talk about George Fraser. He is such a powerhouse full of wisdom. We got a chance to sit down with him in Las Vegas and talk with him. And oh man, he's just awesome. And we had our business partner, Shirley Lou, on there, and that was really awesome in the financial aspect. But yes, marriagescanwin.com. We have 4 books out there. We have a bestseller. We have the Marriage Can Win book. We have Wife Material. We have Girl Get Up and Win. And we have Struggling to Keep the Vows. Our books are everywhere. I think even on Walmart.com. You just name it. We have the workbooks. Did you want to say something?
No, just saying everything is available on the website.
Yeah, everything's available on the website. We just completed our, what's the name of the retreat, baby?
Oh, Making Love Last retreat.
Making Love Last retreat. We just had that, a couple weeks ago. We had a mansion right here in Orlando, Florida. It was like 8,000 square foot, had about 10 bedrooms.
It was a private location where there were couples came in. We partnered with some dynamic couples, and we had 3 days of just pouring into the couples. And it was amazing to see the transformation that was taking place in the couples from the point where they entered until they were getting ready to leave. To me, it's powerful to have men reaching out and saying, hey, when is the next retreat? That is a rarity. So that we're really excited about. We'll be releasing information shortly about the next one. And we do have the online academy. So for those couples that are struggling in their marriage and relationships and they don't want to raise their hand publicly, you can do it privately right there on the website. You can do the self-paced courses, but we do come into the group, and we can do we'll be doing the group chats as well to help you work through the different areas of your marriage.
So if you go to marriagescanwin.com, there's a link on there, but it's called the Marriage Can Win Academy.
Yeah.
This is strictly about relationships to help you overcome what we call the great divide: communication, finance, and sex. And those are the issues that causes marriage to relate. Then we also have the Millionaire Power Couple Institute, where it gives you everything in the Marriage Can Win Academy, but also the business aspect. It teaches you about the business and sales and building generational wealth. How to think as a millionaire, think big, and it works on the mindset. And you also get a free financial needs analysis too, because Sakisha and I are both licensed financial services advisors, and we have a team of agents. And so we'll be there to be able to provide you a free needs analysis. That way you know where you are, and to trying to obtain your goals in retirement, leaving legacies, building a future for your children, education, making sure you protect yourselves from unexpected events in life. And we know we all are too familiar with what's going on with the COVID right now. So so the resources are there. It's just up to you to do ACT. Action changes things, but you got to take the action to change things in your life. If you have more month than money, then you got to make the action to go and try to find out how to have more money than month. If you're not sure about if something happens to your income, and you don't know what you're going to do, then make sure you have the right insurances, right retirement income. It's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. Learning about taxes and learning about retirement, learning about, what the 1%ers do, learn about how you can retire and make $100,000 tax-free for the rest of your life. And then if something happens to you, you leave 2 and 3 million to your family. That's how you create generational wealth. How many people out there that know about that? Because I see too often, I see GoFundMe accounts when somebody passes away. So these are the things that you can learn in the academy. And again, everybody, and my wife mentioned it earlier, everybody wants to buy that new 13C. That thing costs like what, $1,600?
Oh, it's $1,000.
$1,000
for the basic model of the new iPhone.
Right. So you want to invest that $1,000 on a phone, and all you really need to do is just make a phone call, right? Right. But you're going to invest $1,000 in a phone call, but you want to invest into an institute that's going to teach you how to have generational wealth, where you get hundreds of thousands of dollars tax free for the rest of your life. So marriagescanwin.com. I'll leave it there.
Oh my gosh, I told y'all I had a powerhouse couple coming on. I'm not worthy.
So funny.
Oh my gosh, you had one more comment that I wanted to show you before you left. Pamela Spratt said, great message about family and marriage. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
I do thank you. Oh, I got another one just popped up. I do thank you for accepting the invite. I thank you for being a guest, and I thank you for sharing your knowledge and your expertise. It has been a great show.
Thank you. We really appreciate for having us, and any time where we can impact and help the family structure, we would love to be a part of.
That's been the focus of our online ministry with Covenant Kingdom Builders, to help build the kingdom one family at a time. So,
all right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Like I told y'all, got a powerhouse couple like that. That was a lot of information in a short amount of time, and we didn't have enough time to talk about everything we said we was going to talk about. But it was great. It was great. As you know, one of my favorite subjects, if you watch my anniversary show, I had to admit it, is family and relationships. Because, like I said at the beginning of the show, you build stronger families, you build stronger communities, which build stronger states. I didn't make this up. I actually heard this from Tony Evans 20 years ago, and it's been in the back of my mind, and I've been using it a lot lately. But if you want to build strong community, if you want your neighborhood stronger, start right there in your house. Use a lot of things that was said today to help you out. Start talking to your children, start talking to your spouse, start talking to your baby mama. Let's have better relationships with our baby mamas and baby daddies. What are we displaying in front of them? Some of the things that we was going to try to talk about, but as you can see, there was no way we could got it all in. Thank you for coming. I know I normally put up, the next couple of shows going on, but if you've been following me, I'm in my master's program and I've been busy and a lot of things going on. I really don't have anything. So just straight information today, but be with us for the next episode of Let's Talk Family that will air in 2 weeks. You can always go back and look at any of the previous shows. If you got comments during the replay, go ahead and put the comments in there. And if they're for the Hylicks, I would definitely get them to them. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for being a part of this show. This has been another episode of Let's Talk Family. When you sit here, you're family. And I always like to end with my 3 points of interest. 1, the center of everything is family. 2, be the best you that you can be. And 3, it's called life. Live it. Have a great day.